Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now according to Eddie Hearn, the WBO have now ordered Joyce versus Oleksandr Usyk for the WBO Interim World Championship, meaning the WBO World Championship will be on the line for Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. That has now seemingly been confirmed. Now, Eddie Hearn spoke about this fight between Oleksandr Usyk and Joyce and talked about the fact it will probably go to purse bids, and considering that, I believe this fight could end up landing on a BT Sports because Joyce is currently a BT Sports fighter, although Frank Warren was pretty much backing Daniel Dubois in their fight, but then that was just to create the narrative. Obviously Daniel Dubois had Frank Warren on his side, and Joyce had his guy behind the scenes, I guess, or guy who comes forward and speaks for him in some ways, Sam Jones. So they created this kind of a dynamic of back and forth. I don't think that Frank Warren was necessarily biased towards either fighter, but they created that narrative to kind of sell the fight and create more intrigue, because I think that Frank Warren and Sam Jones talk a lot better and probably talk a better game, and even want to engage in those kind of childlike antics, more so than Joyce and Daniel Dubois. They were told to go after one another a little bit to build the fight, of course, and that's understandable to sell the fight because it was an incredible fight that deserved those kind of eyes on it. So now going forwards, we do know that Undisputed has just taken a step in the right direction. It has been going that way. There are no reasons now really why Undisputed cannot happen. It seems like it's going that way. We can stop making excuses as to why it can't. The Deontay Wilder situation doesn't seem like it will be a problem. The WBO have now ordered this fight between Joyce and Oleksandr Usyk, Usyk being their mandatory, so that eliminates the mandatory problem for Anthony Joshua, and there isn't going to be a problem with Wilder, so that means that Undisputed will happen in June for all of the belts in the heavyweight division. Things are finally lining up for this big fight to actually happen, because we did want it to be Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder a few years ago, but that won't be happening now. It will be Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, and to be honest, all that matters is that this fight is a 50-50 fight. It is for all of the belts in the heavyweight division, and it is finally happening. Obviously, this fight was going to be huge no matter what happens, whether there was one belt on the line, whether there was 5 or none. This is a big fight anyway, but the mere fact that it will be undisputed just makes it a history-making fight, even more so than it was before. And the belts did need to be on the line. They were committed to making it undisputed, not just Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. The belts, in my opinion, don't really make all that much of a difference. I believe it's about the fights, but AJ wanted it to be undisputed, probably more so than Tyson Fury. He is more for the fights. I believe that Anthony Joshua was not necessarily keen to vacate that title, the WBO, and go and face Tyson Fury. He would have done it because the Tyson Fury fight is the one he wants for that WBC World Championship, the one he is yet to win, but they were trying to find a solution to that situation. It seems like now they have done that, because before he was supposed to fight Oleksandr Usyk and Kubrat Pulev, his mandatories, but he dealt with his mandatories in chronological order, dealing with Pulev at first. Then Usyk fought Chisora in the interim so that AJ could deal with his mandatories without having to vacate one of those titles. Now though, he has been granted an exception to go and make a unification fight, something that he should have been offered anyway. There is no reason why he should be forced to face this mandatory if he can make a unification fight. Unification should always trump a mandatory position, as long as that mandatory challenger still gets their opportunity, and it seems like he will for that WBO Interim World Championship. Now, Eddie Hearn previously spoke about this fight happening in April, although I believe it was actually Joyce who said it would happen in April, so it will take place before Undisputed happens. And I believe that it will be a really tough fight for both fighters. I believe that Usyk will be the favourite going in, but Joyce is coming off of a great win over Daniel Dubois, so he has the momentum, especially in the heavyweight division. Remember, these two fighters are extremely skillful. Probably Usyk is the more skillful, or not probably, he is, but Joyce is a big guy. He's what, 6'6" or 6'5", and he is a natural heavyweight, whereas Usyk is a cruiserweight coming up. They have faced one another before in the World Boxing Series, which is like a semi-pro kind of format, so they have shared the ring before, and Usyk conclusively outboxed Joyce. That won't necessarily be the same this time around because Joyce has a lot more experience, and he is the natural heavyweight going into this fight, so that will benefit him, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to use all of the advantages he can gather to use against Oleksandr Usyk. He doesn't need to fight Usyk's way, but he does need to do certain things in there that will deter Oleksandr Usyk, like using his jab, the best weapon in the Daniel Dubois fight. Why can't it be the best weapon in the Usyk fight? What he does also need to do is when Usyk tries to create angles, is a step around with him, so he doesn't necessarily want Usyk getting behind his guard by creating those angles, so he does want to be stepping around with him. There are many things and many ways that Joe Joyce can win this fight, but also you have to look at the experience and the ability of Oleksandr Usyk, but you also have to look at how has he fared in there with real heavyweights. I mean, Derek Chisora was a step up from Chaz Witherspoon, and he did struggle in that fight. Derek Chisora presented a lot of obstacles for Usyk to overcome. The size, the strength, the power was very difficult for Usyk to navigate. How will he fare in there with Joe Joyce, who has the size also, the reach as well, and he is unbeaten, coming in with a lot of momentum over a career best win against Daniel Dubois. So there are many factors you can look at in this fight. I believe that Usyk is the clear favourite, but I would not be surprised if Joe Joyce was able to beat him, just down to those factors alone, just down to him being a bigger, stronger man, and having the power also. I don't necessarily consider Joe Joyce to be a big, explosive power puncher, but he grinds his opponents down, he stays in there. He will be able to do 12 rounds with Oleksandr Usyk. I don't think that Usyk is able to stop someone like Joe Joyce, because Joe Joyce seems to be able to take anything from his opponents, and again, Usyk isn't going to have the power to hurt him unless he does wear him down, which I don't see happening, because we don't really see Joe Joyce get tired in fights. He doesn't really get all that nervous, he doesn't burn nervous energy, and he fights at his own pace. But having said that, it is true what they say, which is the one thing Usyk has in his favour, or one of many things, is that speed kills. But then again, timing beats speed. Is Joe Joyce able to time those punches? He does need to break up the work of Oleksandr Usyk, prevent him from throwing punches and bunches, and limit him to ones and twos at a time, to stop him before he gets going, because he can't necessarily match him for speed, but he can time him. So when Usyk is going to attack, he can get that jab out there to thwart the success of Oleksandr Usyk. He done that great in the Daniel Dubois fight. When Daniel Dubois advanced, he used it as a counterpunch, and when he was pushing Daniel Dubois back, he used it as an offensive punch as well. He wasn't necessarily fast enough to start mixing up the combos with Daniel Dubois until around round 8, 9 and 10, but up until that point, the jab was the best weapon. That was getting him all the success he needed, so he just stuck to that. He can do the same in the Usyk fight, with a few changes and adjustments of course, to the opponent that is in front of him, but that jab is a great weapon for Joe Joyce because he can use it in all different variations, going on the offense and using it also as a defensive counter punch, because that is the punch that dropped Daniel Dubois. I mean, I say dropped, I mean Daniel Dubois took a knee, but it was when Daniel Dubois was coming forwards, Joe Joyce slipped that shot and got that jab out there, and that was the final punch that led to Daniel Dubois stopping in the fight. So that is a weapon that Joe Joyce can use to his advantage, especially with the reach and size advantage he has as well in this Oleksandr Usyk fight. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Eddie Hearn has explained that fight has been ordered for the interim championship, meaning all of the belts will be on the line, 100% guaranteed, for Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, according to Eddie Hearn. Guys, drop your thoughts on this in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.